Nikki Dade, and your investor and wealth builder. I am sitting here right now with my mom, my queen, my matriarch of the family, Tina Hurd. Say hi to the people, Mom.
Hi.
All right. So this is a part of our legacy conversations, which is on the end of Women Histories Month, on the brink of Financial Literacy Month. And so it's a legacy, wealth building, finance, credit conversation that I'm going to have with the intimate women in my circle that I call my queens in my circle, my money circle. But before I get going, if you like what you see here, just make sure you like the button below 1 or 2 times, right, Mom?
Yes.
And you can feel free to share. You can feel free to share it as well if you like. We want to make sure that YouTube knows that you are enjoying this content, so we want others to find. And then also subscribe to the channel as well. And the last thing we want them to do, which is what you did too, Mom, is run over to our Facebook group and join the group. Right? You want to tell people?
All right.
Oh, boy. So, I am interested in having these conversations with my mom. My sister actually started it off. So, you guys, if you haven't checked out that episode, definitely check out that episode. First is episode 1. This is going to be episode 2. Now, I'm sitting with my mom who knows me intimately. You know, I said before, it's my sister. She knows me well, but my mom birthed me. So, she knows intimately. So I want to start off with you just sharing with the people how I was as a kid, how I was with money, how I was with my finances, just a little bit so they'll know a little bit of the story from your end and through your lens.
Well,
Come on, Mom.
Nikki has always been a go-getter from such a little girl. Her teachers could give her a part for a play, and she would know it by the next day. And I would be like, oh no, she doesn't have time to be doing the play. They're like, I need her. So I was like, well, you know, sometimes that little mouth of hers can be a bit much. So
How so, Mom?
I have to sit her down. And the teacher would be like, no, I got her. I will make sure.
And this teacher was Miss Glover you're talking about.
Miss Glover.
Oh my God, rest her soul. Yes, we're talking about elementary at this particular point.
She was like, please, Miss Hood, let her do this play for me. She's the only one I can give a script, and the next day she know every word. I'm like, well, okay, if she mess up in school, she's sitting down. That's it.
Okay, so that's how I was in school, and I was very studious and responsible on honor roll, inducted into the honor society, the academic dean's list, principal's list. I did the morning broadcast, all types of things. Tell them a little bit about that story when I came home to you, and I was like, Mom, you know, there's something going on with my grades. So I was very, very serious about calculating my average, which I actually taught my son as well too. You should always know what your averages are before the teacher puts your grades in the system. And so this is something that I started as a kid. I was in 2nd grade. Tell them a little bit about that story, Bob.
Well, we had PTA. You know, back then, you know, the PTA.
Parent Teachers Association,
They did not close school for parent conferences. No. We had to go to school, you know, get to PTA. And Nikki's like, but no, I have a D. And I'm like, a D?
No, it was a B.
I thought it was a D.
No, it was a B. And I did not want the B because it was going to mess up my averages. I was trying to make principal's list.
Well, okay, well, all righty.
Come on, Mom.
With a B. So she was like, no, Mom, I'm supposed to be on honor roll. I have this B. This is just not going to make it. I'm like, well, just wait till we get to the parent conference. Let's see what's going to happen. No, so of course, that was the first teacher that I had to go see. So I'm like, well, okay, let's go and see this teacher. Let's see what's happening. We have the report card here. She, of course, that's when they had the grading books and all the little numbers they would do. And Nikki would be like, well, no.
But I had all my papers too.
Yeah.
I had all the assignments.
She had all her papers.
Because I have receipts.
Every paper.
Mm-hmm.
So the teacher was like, well, no, you have a B. No, I do not have a B. I am an A student. I don't have a B. So I'm sitting there as the parent and I'm looking because my thing is I'm going to listen first to my kids.
That's
The
one thing I will say. I love that about my mom.
The teacher, yes, I'm going to make sure I support her, but I'm listening to my kids. That's important to me. Those are my babies. So we get there. Nikki has all of her papers there. She tells the teacher, no, I don't have no B. I know I have an A. And I have every paper here to go over it, make sure that I know that I have it. So the teacher's like, you do? She's like, yes. And I'm sitting here looking because I'm not saying a word. I'm going to see what's going to happen. So she gets her grade book out. Nikki pulls out all her papers. And she goes over every single paper, every single grade, recalculated. And she was like, well, you know what? You do have an A. And I'm sitting here like, oh my God, this is my daughter.
And change my grade, please.
So she had, of course, get her little pencil out, change the grade. And of course, now she was on the honor roll. Yay!
How did you see my decisions with money and stuff start to change? We already know how it was academically. So obviously a lot of that kind of transitioned into that space because I was very serious about all of that. But talk to me about that too. Some of the things that you saw.
Well, of course, she worked. Nikki worked.
Since I was 12?
Had a job. She knew how to manage her money. She even lived on her own for a while without me.
That was all the way down the road.
I was like, oh, wow. But she was always very responsible in every area. I could depend on her a lot. I had to work 2 jobs. I had 3 kids.
Can I pause you on that? Because I'm glad that you want to talk on that a little bit because I talk about that a lot. And I want them to hear from you on that too, because I would love to hear your perspective. Because being a teenage mom, and also experiencing the things that you experienced so early, in your life, and not really having your mom there. My aunt was there. My great aunt was there. And your siblings was there as well. But I'm sure that was tough because, my grandmother, played a very pivotal role, during that time as well too. And so I would love to hear you, speak on that because we talked a lot on that, my sister and I, last conversation about you being, a teenage mother and having to maneuver that space, and then for years being a single, mom as well, with 3 kids at one particular time before rest his soul, my stepdad, came into our lives. But at that particular time, I was gone, still around, but I was in school and then kind of gone off to college by then. But can you talk about that? About how, because I asked my sister, like, how was conversations about money? We didn't have conversations about money because you were really in survival mode, back during that time. Like, you were just trying to make it. Can you speak on that though? I would love to hear your. Is it too much?
Might be.
Okay. Okay.
But a little bit I can touch on.
Okay, let's do a little bit.
As she said, I had to really survive. I lost my mom at 12. So I really struggled a lot in life because of that. Because not only did I lose my mother, I lost my father. 2 of the most dearest people to my heart ever in my life. So of course, my kids were my everything.
And we were.
I held on to them like you would hold on to, I guess, your life, you would say. So I really depended a lot on my daughter, Nikki. She was like my backbone for a long time. She helped me with her sister and brother so that I could work the two jobs that I worked. I would go to one job, come home, cook, go to another job. She would make sure her brother and her sister did homework. They get in the bed. When I come home, they're in the bed because they knew what they were supposed to do. So she's always been a very responsible um, young lady. And I'm so grateful to God for that. And I'm grateful to God for all of my kids because all of them are awesome. Considering everything that we went through in life.
Mhm.
Moving from my aunt, we lived with their grandmother. Bless her heart. I love her so much. Um,
Yeah, because at one particular time, we was in a room.
yeah, we were living in one room in my aunt's. And I used to sit in that room sometime and just crying, crying, crying. Because I'm like, I know this is not what God have for us to be doing. But I knew God was there. You know, I may not have known then, but I really know now he has always been there for me. This is how I made it. Praise the Lord, I'm 66.
Amen.
Um, I've been through the struggle and the pain, but glory be to God.
Amen.
Anyway, getting back to how we made it. Um, Again, the help of just the village in my life, my sisters, my brother, they were all there for me as well. I was the baby of the family.
Mhm.
Um, and, I never knew what it even was to get a spanking. So my mommy or daddy never even spanked me. So to go through the things I went through with my aunt of beatings and things of that nature, I was like, what is happening? This is not what I'm used to. But anyway, again, make a long story short, it was the grace of God. And I'm just grateful to Him that He has molded my children to be what they are today because we all could have been in so many different places. But I was just, no, these are my babies. We going to make it. God would make sure of that and everybody else that helped us.
Absolutely, absolutely. And one of the things that we also talked about was, yeah, we didn't have conversations about finances because you were just trying to figure out how to make it. You couldn't plan for the future because you were trying to figure out how to survive from day to day. At that particular time. So that was probably the last thing, obviously you already said that was on your mind. And even to give it even more color, mom didn't know I was going to really go down these lanes. So I thank you for being so vulnerable, because we could be healing someone else on the other side of this camera. And that's really what this is about, because I always tell people, like, they look at where we are now. They look at where we are now and understand that we started with very, very humble beginnings. And so this is why I remain in a space where I'm like, people, they're like, you've done this, you've done it. I'm like, yeah, but you know, through the grace of God, you know
Through
what
the
I'm saying? I'm
struggle.
grateful for it, but it hasn't always been that way. So this is why it's so important for me. I always want to reach back. I constantly do that. I constantly give back because I have to give back to the community that gave to me so freely and so openly. And you said it, it was a village, and so I want to color it even more because back during that time, this was a time of the 80s, okay? This was a time when it was very, very, DC, we are, Native Washingtonians, born and raised, and it was heavily infested with drugs back during that time. And, our family was impacted by it heavily, too. And so seeing all that and experiencing traumatic deaths, like we did in our families, caused me to make different choices in life, which is why I had a policy on my son at such a young age, because I had to help my aunt. Like she said, I was so responsible. I was always helping all of the adults in my family. Like, I love being around the wisdom
Yeah.
because that's where you really learn. So I've always had an older spirit, right? But I had to help my aunt plan my cousin's funeral, not one, but two, because they fell victim to the streets of DC. And, we had that, and we had another one of our cousins that, that wasn't that, it was just a lot. I watched a lot of the men in my life fall victim to the city in a number of different ways. And so for me, I felt like I had to get out of the city. I had to do something different, because if I didn't do something different, like, that was going to be what was going to happen with my kids. Like, what if I had a son? And look at what happened. I wanted a girl because of that. I was just so afraid. But I wanted to do things differently. That's why I had an insurance policy on my son, because I was like, if something happens, like, I want to make sure I can bury my son. I don't want to be trying to figure out how we're going to get money to do,
Yeah.
what are we doing here? Why aren't we prepared for these type of things? I wanted to get him an account. That's why I did it for my sister and my brother, because I knew my mom she couldn't think about those things, so I tried to fill in the gaps, for her where I could. And so I just want to, I always thank you, Mom. Personally, I want to publicly thank you, for fighting in the struggle, for persevering, for having the determination and courage, that you had to stand up and fight for us, because I know that wasn't hard. I mean, I know it wasn't easy. It was hard. I know it was.
Yeah.
And so it takes a lot. My mother still smiles, even after the tragic murder. Okay? Murder. My brother was murdered of my brother. My mom still smiles. She still continues to live. And so we're grateful. And I'm gonna get back to you, Mom, and say, so you saw me making, different choices. You saw I've been working and hustling, since she wanted me to get a skill set. So she made me she made me get my license to do hair. She's still my client, my one and only client. But she saw that I was always very good with my hands, and so she wanted to make sure you could talk about that. You wanted to make sure I had a skill, a trade to what?
Yes. Well, one thing I told her, if you have a trade, you'll never be broke. Have something on the side. I knew she was good at being an artist. And I was like, I think cosmetology school would work for you.
And she wanted to get her hair done.
She was like, Ma, no, Ma. I was like, yeah, we're going to do it. We're going to go. We're going to sign you up for cosmetology school. You can do it.
Because at the time it was free.
It
Man
was
Barry, rest
free.
his soul. He had, I know that's our mayor forever. He had all types of programs for the
Yes.
children. Like, he really believed in that. And a lot of us that are native Washingtonians came through that same system. And so, again, when I say I've been working since I was 12, it was 12. I had a summer job every year since I was 12, because I had to save my money for our toiletries and stuff for school. And she wasn't playing about that too. So I used to be like, I can't get some tennis shoes. Or, no, you need them. But I understand now, I should say, rather. Why? She needed the help. I get it. But after that same level of responsibility transitioned into when I started doing hair. I made a lot of money.
Yes, she did.
Lord, if I would have made better choices with that money back then, though. I made so much money.
And
I was supporting Mom.
I used to go to this hairdresser to get my hair done. And I asked the girl one day, I said, you know what? My daughter is in school for cosmetology. I said, and she needs to get her hours. Do you think she can come up here and work?
Bartering for services. I talk to my kids about that at the campus. You barter for services. Look him up. See, I got it from the best.
She was like, yeah, I need a shampoo, girl. I was like, okay, you got it. So I go home and
Put my
tell
tail to
Nikki.
work.
And mind you, she worked at Liz. You know, Liz was
Liz
the big.
Nolan. Liz Nolan.
Yes, she was the big person back
Natural
then.
Motions.
Natural Motion.
On Georgia Avenue. Look, of all our native Washingtonians, I'm sure we so they're like, oh yeah. I made some good money.
Yes, she did.
Some good money.
And I was like, I can be your guinea pig, you know. So
of course
you can practice her mom. So I went to work every day with a different hairstyle. They're like,
God.
How do you get your hair done? I said, well, my daughter is in cosmetology school, girl, and I'm the guinea pig, okay?
And my mom has always been my marketer and advertiser and
and I still am. People stop me on the street. They're like,
my daughter. But she doesn't do hair anymore.
Where do you get your hair done? I was like, my daughter. They was like, will she have a car? And I was like, no. I'm her only client.
No. I am retired.
She's trying to get rid of me. I'm sorry. But anyway.
If there are any stylists out there that actually are really good with doing finger waves.
No, don't worry about that. Don't do that part.
Here's your new client. She will be a loyal, faithful one too.
Oh boy. But anyway, yes. Thank God for her.
So
I love it.
I love you too, Mom. So let's talk a little bit about how you saw how you saw me kind of working with my sister and brother in terms of teaching them with their checking accounts and their savings accounts and how I would have them put money, in their accounts when they receive money. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, they all had little summer jobs. So Nikki would make sure she would, see that her brother and her sister would save their little money because she was like, Mom said we gotta, we have to buy our own toiletries and stuff. We can. But she's always been good with that. And she still today shows her sister what to do. And her mother. Thank you.
It's funny because Jamie said during our last conversation, she was like, I think out of all three of us, I'm the one that listened the most.
Yes, she is. Because Mom and the brother, okay. But Jamie does.
Hard head.
She loves her sister. And I'm so glad that they have the relationship and the bond that I've always tried to implement in our household. Because I'm like, you all are family. You all are all you have. So that's who you have to look out for.
Now, let's be clear. It wasn't always like that. I used to be a little annoyed because Mom would make it like, this is not optional. You have to take care of your sister and your brother, and it's not negotiable. Now I'm thankful for it now because we were together so much. Like, that's all we knew. That's all we know, even still now. And so that is why we, are like this with each other at the hip, because that's what it was from day one.
You have to take your sister.
And then and you have to take your sister and brother.
So
this is why I have one child.
And now he's like, Mom, I'm coming.
Everybody's on my hip. I don't understand.
Okay.
So we are sitting in right now in our property that we purchased together a couple of years ago. One of the things that was important to me was while I was out building and preparing and, getting things aligned for my son, I also wanted to make sure that you were able to experience the same things that we were experiencing. And so I knew that you had never owned before. And I don't think it was something that was really necessarily on your list per se, was it?
No.
See? We said that.
She was like, get in the
However,
house. I'm like, huh? What is that?
but how does it feel though now?
It feels awesome. And I brag about it a lot at work. You should, I'm at work talking about it all the time. They're like, Miss Her, you have an Airbnb? Yeah, child. So it's definitely has been an experience. And I get, to talk to Nikki. I'd be like, well, how are the clients doing up there? Are they okay? So it's exciting. I love to come here. It's a home away from home. I definitely love the beautiful sun deck. That's my favorite. And summertime is coming now, and I like to grill. So I have a nice little grill there for me too. I just don't like cleaning it. Everybody can come clean it. But other than that, it's been awesome. I never thought I would be in this space that I'm in now in my life. Um, I'm just sorry that it came at a time that some of the people very dear and close to me is not here to experience it.
Why don't you say who they are?
That would be my husband. Everybody, really. If I just start going down the list, you'd be like, oh my God. Um, my mom, my dad, my brother, my sisters, my nephews, my son, my husband. Whew, wow. I'm just, mm, 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 mm. I miss them all so much, but I know that,
And my brother.
yes, and my son. Yes, they would really have been so proud and happy. I know they would have. And I would have loved for them have been here to be enjoying this time. Um, because now I'm looking at like, oh boy, I'm going to retire soon. And I'm gonna be able to just kick my feet up. I never thought I would get to this point right now in my life to say that. At one point, I'm like, phew, Lord, I made it. Because I could have been in so many different places. You just don't know. But God was like, no, you can't have her. She's mine.
That's all right. That's all right. Because I remember when we when I first started talking to you about it, it was like, I have some things I would like to buy. And I was like, that's nice. But before we do that, we're going to do this first. And then after that, when is this going to be over, Nikki? When? I mean, she fought me tooth and nail. But I also think it was just fear. I think it was fear of the unknown. It was, what are we doing? Am I, again, like you said, I never knew that I would be in a situation like this. Or so sometimes I also think we have guilt, too, like because I'm not able to experience it with the people that I would like to experience it with. I don't want to experience it at all, So I'm really glad that you were able to really push through that fear, push through that wall, and know that God had a blessing for you on the other side.
Yeah.
And so allow him to come through and give it to you, right? And I pushed her hard on this. I had to push my mom's credit score. I was in her business. I was down in her dirty, dirty, dirty business. Okay. And she was just to tell me she was gonna take me off of accounts. I didn't leave her alone. She was tired of me. But at the end,
yes,
anything that's worth having is going to always be worth working for. And so for me, in order to have something or get something that you want or do something different, you have to be willing to do something different. You have to be willing to fight past things. And so I've always been one like, I'm going after it. I'm going to, y'all can join me for this ride or not, but I'm going to go for it. And this time I pulled you along, and I'm glad that you're grateful because I really wanted you to experience it. And it feels good now. It feels good now. I'm so happy for that. I'm so happy about that. I had to push my mom's scores by like 100 points. And we did that in 9 months. So imagine how hard I was on her. So it was a real role reversal back then.
I remember Melda telling me, nobody has done this before, ever.
Melda is my loan officer, who I love dearly. We're going to talk to her too, because boy, I love me some Melda.
Yeah.
She has worked some magic in a lot of deals, that I've worked on. And I love working with her because she has that same mindset, that I have about money and leveraging money, and also, going after other people's money to do so. She is a beast.
Mm-hmm.
And she did. She was like, Nikki ain't playing with you. But it's hard. It's hard. It's not. All right. Easy. So I know I remember talking to you about venturing into this space a little bit heavier. Obviously, it's something that I've been doing for some time. But I wanted to step into a larger arena with it and really level up with it. How have you seen me evolve since I first started to now?
Well, when she first started, she started talking about her business with Paragon. And I was like, well, what is that? And what are you doing? And I'm not quite understanding what's happening.
She never understood.
She's like, well, Mom, I'm going to start doing some different things in real estate. And I'm like, real estate? What are you doing, Nikki?
What are you doing?
She's always doing something. I'm like, I can't keep up with her. So when she started a nice little business, the Paragon, and she's like, well, we're having meetups on Wednesdays, or I can't believe whatever day it was, Tuesday or Wednesday, one of those days. Okay. And she's like, well, you got to come sometime. And I'm like, well, girl, I work in the evenings. I don't get off till 6 o'clock. Well, Mom, it doesn't start till about 10. I'm like, oh my goodness.
She thought she was going to talk her way out of it.
So I'm like, well, okay, let me just go because I need to see what she's doing because she's always doing something. So I go to the meetup and I'm sitting there listening like I always do. Because even when she was acting and she was like, Mama, I'm acting and I'm in this play. And I'm like, oh my goodness, what is happening? So I would get to the play and I'm just going back for a minute. I would get to the play and I'm like, is that my daughter up there? Because she was so amazing. And I'm looking like, wow. So this is what she was telling me she wanted to do. And look at her, and I'm like, oh my God, I might be in Hollywood one day,
Because I am a trained actress from Howard Theater.
Yes.
Howard Theater, Howard University Fine Arts.
I was like, oh my goodness, she's actually acting. Look at her. But it was amazing.
I'm pretty darn good too.
Yes, she was. That's why I was sitting there. My mouth would be open. And I would be like, is that my child? Oh my goodness, look at her. I go to her meetups with the Paragon and I'm listening to her and she's up there speaking. We're in the room with people. We're packed in the room, okay? We're so packed. I'm sitting way at the back on the wall. I'm like, okay, what's going on? So her and Pam, which is her partner. Hey, Pam.
Hi, Pam.
They're both up there, and I mean, they're in their world. And I'm like, oh my goodness, she's actually doing this. So, one thing after another, then finally their business started off. And this is all of the product of everything from the beginning.
She was like, what are y'all doing? I can't come up with these conversations, so that the multi-family space, it was we didn't even know we were going to venture into that. We started investigating which real estate is such a vast, dense space that you can do so many different things, So we decided to pursue multifamily because we knew that was the quickest way to scale, rather than doing it brick by brick. And we still, are in the space, but we've kind of slowed down a bit with it because the prices have just, they've gotten so crazy and ridiculous that we had to parlay into some different spaces. And so we decided to focus a little bit more on the educational realm. And so we started doing some products with that. Excuse me. And we're gonna be back with some things too, so you can stick around for that too. Don't worry, we'll be back with some stuff with that as well. But she is basically like, you've gone from one venture to the next, and you've essentially grown, quicker, than I thought. It's spreading like wildfires, like the fire spread in California. Like that's typically how it is. When I decide that I'm gonna do something and I'm gonna go for it, I go full out. I don't think I know any other way. And I want to do it with excellence. That's the main thing for me. And the other part is I want to bring people along with me, people specifically my community, along with me, not just my immediate family and my immediate circle, but also, again, the community that I've talked about before that has given to me so graciously and openly. But if you have enjoyed this conversation, this is our second episode. We're going to have a few more when I can make the time for it, for those women that I have impacted and they have impacted me. So if you have enjoyed what you've seen so far, please make sure that you tell them I like the button below, right? Make sure you share it as well and comment. Let us know what you want to hear more on. We're looking, for that type of feedback as well. Then we also want to make sure that you subscribe to the channel too, as well. You subscribe to the channel too, right, Mom?
Yes, see? I did.
Turn on your notifications as well. And then lastly, we want you to go on over and join our free Facebook group. We hope to see you there. Again, I am Nikki Dade. This is my mom, Tina Herdquill. Thank you for joining us, Mom. Your investor and realtor and wealth builder. And we will see you on the other side.
Bye.